Tonight, our coverage as Canada prepares for massive influx of migrants after Trump's win. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Elia Batul. Quebec Premier François Legault is warning that Canada needs to act quickly to secure its borders against a massive influx of migrants because of Donald Trump's U.S. presidential triumph. Quebec borders 4 northeastern U.S. states. Trump promised during his election campaign that he would order the mass deportation of millions of migrants living in the country illegally. There are an estimated 11 million undocumented migrants in the U.S. Trump said he would move out million each year. During a press conference Wednesday, Legault said that the federal government should fulfill its responsibility to protect Canadian borders. Legault says the problem is not immigrants, it's the number. Royal Canadian Mounted Police says it has contingency plans, including increased border surveillance in case of a flood of migrants. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland says Canadians should be assured that the government recognizes the importance of border security and of controlling who comes into Canada. The Russian Foreign Ministry has summoned Canada's deputy ambassador in Moscow today. The ministry is protesting what it calls false accusations linking Russia to a sabotage plot targeting NATO countries. This comes as Western security officials allege Russia is plotting to ignite explosives on cargo flights to the U.S. through explosive parcels in European logistic depots. Polish prosecutor alleged Russian intelligence likely orchestrated the blasts that rocked courier centers across Europe in July. Security officials had previously connected these events to Russia's alleged strategy to destabilize Ukraine's allies through sabotage. The recent explosions in Britain, Germany, and Poland are seen as potential precursors to a more dangerous scheme to detonate explosives on cargo flights bound for North America. The Russian embassy in Warsaw has dismissed the claims as unfounded and unjustified. As the investigation unfolds, Polish authorities are actively searching for 2 Russian suspects. 4 Ukrainian nationals have already been detained in connection with the case. Officials say they are working closely with EU law enforcement to identify additional members of the suspected international sabotage group. A Hindu temple in Brampton, Ontario has suspended one of its priests following violent clashes between protesters at Hindu and Sikh places of worship earlier this week. In a statement, the Hindu Sabha Mandir has cited the priest's controversial involvement in Sunday's protests. It has not provided further details. In a social media post, Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown is urging the community to reject violence and hate. He has announced plans to propose a motion in Brampton City Council to consider restricting protests near places of worship. The clashes occurred when members of Sikh for Justice held a protest outside the Hindu temple in Brampton, while Indian consular officials were present. Peel Police responded to the scene. However, later protesters moved to Westwood Mall in Mississauga, where more fighting broke out at the Malton Gurdwara on Airport Road. Further clashes erupted outside the Hindu Sabha Mandir Monday evening. Peel Police then issued a public safety alert after some participants reportedly wielded weapons. On Wednesday, the Ontario Gurdwaras Committee condemned the violence, emphasizing it was not a religious conflict. Sikh advocacy groups allege that Indian nationals instigated the clashes. They are calling for Indian consular officials to refrain from non-diplomatic activities, claiming these visits incite violence. A new report by Rental.ca in Urbantation reveals for the first time in over 3 years, average asking rents across Canada have seen a year-over-year decline in October. The report shows the average rent sat at $2,152 last month. The figure marks a 1.2% decrease from October last year. The decline is concentrated in Canada's largest urban centers, with Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, and Montreal among the cities seeing notable rent reductions. Urbantation President Sean Hildebrand says such declines are uncommon on a national level. Hildebrand says the trend is likely to continue in the short term, especially as new apartment completions remain high. Among the provinces, British Columbia and Ontario experienced the largest annual rent drops. In contrast, Saskatchewan continues to lead in rent growth. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has appointed Yechiel Leiter as Israel's new ambassador to the United States. Leiter is a U.S.-born resident of an Israeli settlement in the occupied West Bank. He is known for his strong support of settlement expansion. Netanyahu describes Leiter as a highly capable diplomat with a deep understanding of American politics. Leiter has recently advocated for greater involvement of Israeli soldiers and their families in government. Leiter lives in a settlement north of Ramallah. He's the founding chairman of One Israel Fund, a New York-based organization supporting settlers in the West Bank. The timing of his appointment aligns with the warm reception of Trump's return to the White House by Netanyahu's government. Trump was a vocal ally of Israel during his first term. Trump famously declared then that the Jewish state has never had a better friend in the White House. Leiter's appointment hints at a likely shift in the U.S.-Israel relations as Trump prepares to take office in January. Observers expect Trump's administration to once again support controversial policies. These include recognizing Israeli sovereignty over contested areas like the Golan Heights and further backing settlement expansion. France has accused Israel of damaging diplomatic ties after Israeli forces entered a French-administered holy site in East Jerusalem. They then temporarily detained 2 gendarmes with diplomatic status. The incident occurred yesterday at the Church of the Pater Noster on the Mount of Olives, just before French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot was scheduled to visit. The site is one of 4 in Jerusalem under French responsibility. French diplomatic sources say Israeli authorities were previously instructed not to enter the area during Barrett's visit. Barrot refused to enter the site, while Israeli forces remained on the premises. Media reports show Israeli police encircled the 2 plainclothes gendarmes, with one officer reportedly being pushed to the ground. The gendarme identified himself as a diplomat, shouted, "Don't touch me." Both gendarmes were then led to police cars. The French Ministry for Foreign Affairs has announced Israel's ambassador will be summoned in the coming days. This dispute strains already fragile Franco-Israeli relations, which have been tense over Israel's military actions in Gaza and Lebanon. French President Emmanuel Macron has called for a halt to offensive arms sales to Israel. Recently, France barred Israeli defense firms from a Paris trade fair. This isn't the first time French-administered sites in Jerusalem have been flashpoints for diplomatic tension. In 2020, President Macron clashed with Israeli security at the Church of St. Anne, demanding they leave the site. In 1996, then-President Jacques Chirac famously rebuked Israeli security at the same church, calling their behavior a provocation. The United Nations Human Rights Office reports that nearly 70% of those killed in Israel's ongoing operations in Gaza are women and children. The organization describes the situation as a systemic violation of the fundamental principles of international humanitarian law. Gaza's health ministry says in the past 24 hours, at least 39 Palestinians have been killed. 123 have been injured. In a related incident in Amsterdam, violence broke out before the Ajax Maccabi Tel Aviv football match. A city council member has told the media Israeli fans allegedly attacked Palestinian supporters, sparking the altercation. At least 43,508 Palestinians have died in Gaza since October last year. More than 102,000 are injured. Israeli attacks in southern Lebanon have killed 52 civilians in recent days. In Lebanon, Israeli airstrikes since last year have killed at least 3,117. Nearly 13,900 are injured. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News Canada. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV.